I'm about to cut the meat off of that, and I'm going to pressure cook this ham bone for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and make broth. Now, I am going to make, this came from honey baked ham, and I'm going to make this soup, and that's when I'll use some of the ham that I'm cutting off of there. But I'm also hoping I'm going to have enough to maybe even do some collard greens. I'm just going to be like a ham broth is really what I'm shooting for. And again, I've always wanted to do it. And you could do this with any ham bone, and I'm using a honey bake. I mean, this was, it was pricey. It was $87.85 for that ham, which it was delicious. Don't get me wrong, we loved it. But the ham bones, what we're after right now, are the broth from it. I'm gonna get that cut off, get that refrigerated, get that back in the refrigerator, and we're gonna cook this ham bone down, make broth. Be back. Okay, here is what I ended up with. There's the meat, and both of those will work well in both recipes, the ham bean soup and the collard greens. I'm going to kind of divide that also. But here's the ham bone. And, I mean, obvious. You've seen them before. That's what it looks like, and you know what a ham bone looks like. But anyhow, that's what I cut it down to. I'm going to put it in here. In fact, I may put this right here underneath it just to keep, I don't know, to help disperse the heat, I guess. And then I'm going to filter, I'm going to sit and take me a minute to filter enough water to cover that ham. And hopefully I'm going to have, you know, a couple of quarts, or I don't know what I'm going to have. I'll take whatever I get, because even if I don't have enough for both recipes, I can add water. I'll have real ham broth. I'm not putting anything extra in it. Nothing. No onions, no any of the things you might have heard. Certainly no salt. Just got plenty of salt. Just straight water. And I'm going to get this to cooking. So let me get that started and I'll be back. Okay, here is what I ended up with. I'll lean the camera over where you can see that I've got about 20 cups of water. And even if you remove that ham bone, I would expect there to be at least 16 cups, which is, I think that's a gallon of ham broth I should have when this is done. Now, I did pour the juices and kind of scraped out the bits and pieces out of that in there also. You can see the ham I got left that I'm going to refrigerate. I'm going to put this much. That right there, maybe a tablespoon or so. I mean, that's what I was shooting for, maybe a tablespoon in a gallon of water. And I hear that helps extract stuff from the bones and maybe the marrow. But I just saw other people did it, so I did it. That's kind of what that's about. So here's the plan. I'm going to obviously go to pressure. I'm going to leave it on natural release. I'm going to seal it. I'm going to take this to 2 hours, and that might take a second, but I'm going to take this to 2 hours. I'm going to start this cook, and then when it finishes, it will natural release its pressure on its own. It'll just bleed down, whatever, naturally, and then it'll go to keep warm. So what I'm going to do is let it stay on keep warm. Now, if I'm still up and moving around later on tonight, I may get it up tonight, but otherwise, I'll get it up in the morning. I'll open this up, take that bone out, throw the bone away, and then I'm going to set this in. I'm going to take that pot, and I've got a glass lid over there that I'm going to set on it, and I'll lift the liner out, the pot, and I'll put it in the refrigerator. And then later on, and you wouldn't have to do that part. You could go straight to cooking if that was how it worked out for you. But once it sits in the refrigerator a while, the fat will solidify on the top, and I'm assuming there'll be some, and I'm going to take a lot of it off. I'm going to take it all off, but I'm going to take some of the fat off the top, and then I will have my, what I would call my perfect ham broth that I'm going to save, and, well, not save long, because I'm going to make bean soup out of one, and collard greens out of the other. I'll show you this a little bit better right quick. And you get that at Honey Baked Ham. That's where I bought it at. And you can see how they did it. They put carrots in it. But we're going to know exactly what it looks like in a while. Be back. See y'all in the morning. Yeah, I forgot to press start. But there you go. It's running now. See y'all in the morning. All right. It's been a little while. I had some other things I wanted to do. So it's been here ready to open for 9 hours. And you can see it's obviously ready to open. We're going to see what it looks like. And there plenty of water came out. As y'all know, I have a video on what to do about that thing right there, but it fills up with a lot of water, and it will make a mess if it falls off. But and it's kind of bad to fall off. So the bone is cooked to pieces. So I'm gonna get a container and move it to there because there's nothing left of the bone. So I ought to show you this broth though before I stir it up, get it all messed up right quick. So hold on, let's look. There's what it looks like. Let me turn on this other light. And well, you can see it looks good. It's going to be good. So I'm going to get those pieces of bone out as best I can. Then this is going, the whole thing, like I said, is going in the refrigerator. And then I will skim off any fat that solidifies. And I'm going to leave these pieces of ham in there for now. And then I'll maybe strain it, you know, after I heat it up. We'll see how far I go with it. I may use it just like it is after I skim the fat off, but I'll bring y'all back at that point. All right, I did want to show you one more time because I got 18 cups out of there, and there's the rest of the bone. I mean, that's the meat that's left. I just ended up lifting that thing up, and everything came out with it pretty good. And there's what's left of the bone, and it cooked it pretty much to nothing. Now, I'm going to let this sit out and cool a little while, and then it's going in the refrigerator just like that. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. I just wanted to show you right quick. 18 cups, and that'll make a little over a gallon of broth, and you can see it looks good. I ended up just lifting this up with my tongs, and everything came out with it. That meat, that's the meat that's left. I'm going to put in the refrigerator with the other meat. And there's the pieces of the bone. So, I mean, that's what came out of there. There's maybe a few more little bits and pieces on the bottom here, but no big deal because, like I said, this is all going in the refrigerator as soon as it cools down a little bit and let it solidify. I'm going to mention, I turned this around where I can show what I was speaking of a while ago because this thing, I have a video on the modification I did. If you have this type, if you have this one lid, what I call the one lid wonder, or Ninja calls it the smart lid, because that will fall off. And as much water as gets in when you're doing this type of stuff, it makes a mess. In fact, it dripped out right then when I lifted it. But without that magnet, if you move it just a little bit like that, that thing will flop off. So I'll put a link to that video in the description, and you can see how to do that in case you have this type. But you can do this with any pressure cooker. So. All right, well, about 12 more hours have passed, and I've got this out of the refrigerator. And as I suspected, the fat solidified on the top, but I'll say this, it's not near as bad as I had thought, and I'm going to show you what it looks like right there, and then you can see it's not as thick as one might think. I would have expected it to be a little bit thicker, but that's, you know, that's my point though. It solidifies. This gets kind of gelatinous inside. I'm going to get this fat off. I'm going to put it right here. Then I'm going to heat this a little bit, and I'm going to strain it. And this right here, this is something I use for when I do turkey frying and stuff like that, or deep frying. I use this to strain it with. And if I don't like the way it looks at that point, I'm going to use cheesecloth. But my point is, you know, like I said, I've never done this before, so I'm learning a little bit. And I think that's going to be fine, but we're going to see just how it looks once I get a few more steps done. I'll bring y'all back when I get it. I'm going to pour some of these in here so I can pop them out and have cubes for ham bone broth. So, okay, so there's what it looks like after the fat's been removed. And you can see again, it's gelatinous, and there is some, you know, I guess you'd say fairly fattiest liquid right there. But we're going to make it where it flows real easy. And you can see it's not, I can probably strain it now, but I'm going to heat it, strain it, and then see how much we have left, which I can probably tell you right now if I can find my marks. Right now we're right at 16 cups. So, I mean, that's 1 gallon, I'm pretty sure. So, anyhow, I'm going to get this. I'm going to switch this to, I'll go ahead and close the lid. I don't think I have to. I'm going to put it on slow cook because I'm never in a hurry. I'm not again tonight. And if I get in a hurry, I'll switch it back to sear saute and let it heat it up real quick. But right now, I'm going to get a few things together. I got to get my sheet pan out because once we fill these bags, I'm going to lay those on a sheet pan, and they're going in the freezer. So I got to kind of clean out a spot in my freezer too. So see you in a minute. Okay, I will say this one a little faster than I expected because it's only been 18 minutes since I put it on slow cook, and it's already 140 degrees, and I don't want it any hotter than that because I'm putting it in Ziploc bags, and that's plenty warm enough for it to go back to a complete liquid form. So I'm going to pour this over like this. I don't think I need to show you all this. In fact, I don't want to. This is as simple as this right here. I'm going to pour this liquid over, let it maybe cool a little bit as I strain it a little bit. I'm not even going to put that back in there. I'm going to let it cool even more. And but you can see that right there made all I want. That's perfect. That is ham broth, if you ask me. And then I'll do something with that, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I doubt very seriously I'm going with the cheesecloth because that looks fine. So I'll be back when that cools off a little bit and I get the rest of it strained, and then I'll start putting it in things like this and the Ziploc bag. So be back. Okay, so there is the broth that's left. Now, I'm not going to do the bean soup tonight, but tomorrow night, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to refrigerate some of it, but I'm also going to freeze some for those collard greens that I don't know if I'll video or not, but it's common sense. Now, I did put some right here in these silicone containers that I'm hoping will pop out like ice cubes, and I can use for, I don't know, just various reasons. Don't really have anything in mind yet, but you get my idea. Now I'm going to take one Ziploc gallon bag, which and this is 8 cups, by the way, and I've seen people do this right here, and it does seem to work real well. You just take a container like this, and you find one that works well with a gallon bag like this, and then you kind of carefully do that right there. And then I think, like I said, this one's a full 8 cups, so I'm going to, and this one's really close. All that's missing out of that one is this. I'm going to move this to the sink because I know how I am. So I'm going to move this to the sink right quick, and I'm going to pour this in there. Now just bear with me. And now I've got my 32-ounce container. I did spill a little bit, but nothing, no big deal. I'll wipe that up. But now I've got my 32-ounce container right here that I can take this right here up real kind of easy and Ziploc it, and then I'm going to lay it on that sheet pan I've already got in my freezer and let it freeze flat, which I'll show you tomorrow. And then, it's going to take a minute, but all I'm going to do is get this ready, get it in the freezer, and I'm going to put that in here, put this lid on it, and refrigerate it. And then tomorrow night, we'll have it for the beans. So, I'll also show you this tomorrow night. Hopefully, that'll make little ham broth ice cubes. See y'all then. Bye. Okay, so here is my homemade ham bone broth in the freezer. I've got it fairly flat, and there's the ones that will be ice cubes, hopefully right there. So tomorrow we'll have a block of ham bone broth right there and some ice cubes right there. I'll see y'all then. Okay, so I'm back again tonight. Just got that out of the refrigerator. Here is the beans. I'm going to get them done tonight, no matter what. And there is the directions. Rinse beans. It says a couple of things we're going to have to skip some of the steps because this thinking you have the bone. Well, I've already made ham bone broth, so we don't need some of these instructions. But the first one is rinse these beans. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these in here, rinse them off a little bit. I'm also making cornbread. I got a couple of things going on. So we're going to get them rinsed, and there's our 8 cups of ham bone broth, and we're going to get this started. I'll be back. Okay, maybe I should have went ahead with this, but anyhow, there you go. There's what's inside that package. It's Great White Northern, it's these right here, white beans, Great Northern, and then the spice packet. So here is their spice packet. We're supposed to add half of it if you had the bone, but I'm going to kind of make decisions on how I'm going to do that. But main thing is, it's Great Northern. I'm going to get them rinsed. Be back. All right, right here are my, what turns out to be 2 cups of Great Northerns, and rinsed and somewhat picked through. I'm going to put them right there. I'm going to go ahead, it says here, I mean, this pressure cooking, so it's a little different from what they're requesting here, but they say 8 to 10 cups of water. Well, I'm going to use 8 cups that we did last night of our ham bone broth. And to keep from making a mess, I'm going to take that right there off. And I'm going to put it in there just like that. And it has, yeah, it's kind of re-gelled a little bit, but take my word, this pressure cooker will make it not that way. And I'm going to put the whole packet right now. So right now we got the, I'd have to say the best ham broth, you know, available. And we've got all of the beans that Honey Baked Ham sent, and all of their seasoning. And I'm about to, I'm just going to mix it up. Put that right there. Put that right there. I don't like that being on there where I spilled it. I'm going to turn it on. I've got it moved to pressure cooked. I'm going to put it on seal. We're going to go on high. And I'm going to do, I'm going to say 30 minutes. You know what I'll do? I'll do 32 because that liquid's cold. And that there's no excellent reason. It's just kind of what I'm doing. And if it's not right, it's simple enough to redo. But we're off and running. I got my cornbread on, so hopefully it's going to be okay. And we'll be back in a little bit and see how these look. So see y'all. Okay, so while that's going, I wanted to show you my frozen ham bone broth. And this right here worked really well. I could have filled it a little further. I was afraid of it expanding, but it didn't. So I could have went even further, but you can see what you get. I mean, you get a really neat, decent sized cube of ham broth that would work for, well, a lot of things. A lot of people drink this. You know, they sip it in the mornings especially. A lot of collagen and stuff. This right here, you can see it's flat on the bottom. And you could use smaller bags, half gallon instead of a gallon. So anyhow, I'm gonna get these out of here, and you can see it's that simple. Now they make ice cube trays, big square ones that do the silicone, and that's the thing to do. I mean, this, well, you can see how simple it is. I mean, you can just pop them right out of there, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in whatever you want to put them in, and as simple as it looks right there. And I don't know how you'd beat that. So anyhow, I'm gonna get this put up, and I got to keep an eye on my cornbread. Be back. Okay, I was afraid someone might ask, so I'm going to thaw those 2 cubes out and drink it, because it might be something I start doing. Me and Baby Doll both take collagen, and that's a most natural, excellent way I can think of to get it. Okay, I have microwaved those 2 pieces of ice that are ham broth, and it's at about 115 degrees. And honestly, I've already cheated, but I'll show you. And I can see how that would go really well with breakfast or any time, but a lot of people do it in the mornings, and it's not a bad taste. It's pretty good. I'll just leave it at that. And people do it with all kinds of bones to make a bone broth to sip for collagen and a lot of other things. It's hair, nails. It's supposed to help a lot of stuff. So anyhow, that's my opinion on drinking it. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so one thing I just kind of realized I don't think I've mentioned, and it is that when I'm cooking beans, I always do a natural release. I don't do any type of quick release or even a delayed release, because I think it helps the bean to make, I don't know what the term is, maybe a gravy that beans have with them. And when you pressure cook, you don't get as much that of that when you're pressure cooking. But it seems to me when you do a natural release, it helps that. Gives a little bit of, a lot of people mash them with a, like a potato masher, and give a little bit of that soupy like gravy with it. But also, sometimes if you just reach up here and release beans, they'll blow stuff out of the top. They foam. So you have to be real careful if you're going to do anything other than a natural release. But I always do a natural release, which means I let it come all the way back to the pressure on its own as it cools down without releasing any. I mean, maybe a little sometimes, but not very much. But anyhow, now you know. Okay, it took a little while, about 22 minutes to say open. I had plenty of time to dice up my ham, and you could do different than I did. You could make bigger chunks, but I just took the part that was sliced, or maybe a few in there that's a little bit big. But I got about a cup and a half, by the way. You can see it's cups right there. So that's about a cup and a half. That's what I'm putting in. I can always add more. Now, this says open, but the pin's not all the way down. And on this device, I have found that you kind of either got to look at the pin or it won't let you open it. And as a matter of fact, if you do, it has a device in there that opens the, let me move this because it's making noise. It has a device that pops open and lets the pressure go before the lid comes up. But that's the design. I don't test that a lot of times, but that's the design. So you can say there's very little pressure there. And although it says open, you still want to bleed it down this way. Again, I feel positive you could do that. I just don't test things like that. So what we're about to do is open it up. See what it looks like. There's my cornbread, and it looks right. So as soon as that pin goes down, well, you know what? I'm confident enough. You can see right there. Even though the pin wasn't down, now that water drainage that I've mentioned once before in this video is pretty excessive. So I'm going to show what it looks like right now. And there it looks. But once you stir it up, those beans, now that is a little more liquid than I would have liked. But I've used about that amount of water before. But either way, all you got to do is turn it on simmer or whatever and cook down just like you would in a pot or a pan or in anything you're cooking beans in. But I'm going to let those kind of absorb out just a minute with the lid up. And then we're going to move those. I'm anxious to taste them. I got a feeling they're going to be just as good as you might imagine, especially with some of that cornbread. I'm going to go ahead and put my ham in. I just am. There it goes. And I'm going to stir that up and see if it looks like enough. I think it is going to be. I'll show you what a cup and a half looks like. But there you go. So like I said, if you don't like that much liquid in there, then either don't put as much to start with or, press a button here and sear, saute or something. Let it reduce. That's all you got to do. I'm going to let that happen just a little bit, just like that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I just tasted those beans, and they're not quite where I want them. So this would be the perfect time to do what they suggested or what they actually did in their picture. They put carrots, and they also say something about celery, but you could add anything, an onion, whatever you wanted to at this point, depending on how far you want it cooked. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some time. I'm going to have to turn it off to get it to start over again, or I think you do, but that's what I always do. I'm going to turn it off. We're over here. I'm going to set that back to seal. And I'm going to run another, I like my beans fairly mushy. So I'm going to let them go right there. It's already hot, so it shouldn't take long. Leave it on natural release. Again, I'm not in a hurry. This might be something you might add more time to. I've done northern beans before. And quite honestly, they're usually done in that time, or in my experience, I don't do them all the time, but those are fairly under what I want. So I'm adding some time, and again, this would be the time to add some vegetables maybe. So I'll be back. Okay, we are at the second opening, and that's, I think I did, I know I did 8 minutes and 32, so that's 40 minutes. And I think all dried beans are a little different. And this is a really good way of doing it because although I should have timed it, it didn't take that long to come back to pressure. But we got to do that right there. I'm going to let those sit there a minute. They do look a lot better. I think they're going to be better. But you can see that gravy looks, that's a good color. I think it's going to be, I think they're going to be excellent. And I kind of can't wait because I'm anxious to try my cornbread with them, which It's right there. I covered it up trying to keep it from getting all the way cold. It's still warm. So I might pull one out right now and just see where we are. Although you might want to run sear on that or saute to kind of boil off some of that liquid, but maybe not. It's not that bad. And those beans are perfect. That 8 minutes made it. Now, every bean's different. I'll say it. Every dried bean I ever cook is a little bit different. So, that being said, I'm going to let that sit there a minute. And I'm going to get me a plate or something out, and we're going to try these. Be back. Okay, so here's how we do it down here in the South with some cornbread. And that right there makes it totally different. Okay, so I got my pictures, and I tried some of it. And it's really good. I mean, that seasoning they put in there, it works. And you see the color of the broth. And, of course, a honey baked ham in there with these Great Northerns. And not to mention my cornbread. Okay, so it's the next day, and I haven't put my microphone on or nothing, but I want to go ahead and show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to spare you all the cooking of it, but I'm going to cook those collard greens, and I didn't need that much that I had frozen, so I set this in the sink and let it thaw a little while. Then I broke it in half, and I'm fixing to separate those and use half of one of those for this. And I got my beans back on. I'm actually pressure cooking them for 2 more minutes again, and just to get them hot. Then, of course, I got the cornbread, so I'll let y'all know in a minute. All right, I'm just going to finish this up right quick. There is my collard greens I did. I'll show you what they look like. I did put one thing of fat back in there. There's what the beans ended up on the next day. Now, that's right out of the refrigerator. 2 minutes of pressure cooking. Did my collard the same way I normally do them. Not even going to go into that. My cornbread. This right here is probably going to be my newest thing that I start doing in the mornings, and that is microwave about 2 of these. And it works. Collagen. I mean, it's natural too. I don't have to tell you that that's good. And in fact, I'm going to taste it. But you can take my word. I already have. These collards they're as good as they get. That's really all I know to say. I got me some pepper sauce for my collards. Chow chow for my beans. Butter for my cornbread. I am set. Hey, y'all do your ham bone broth. See what you think at home, or whatever kind of bone broth you want to do. It works. Love y'all. Bye-bye.